Okay, so on my screen at the moment, I kind of started, talking about the fact that it was this huge, enormous, matter of fact, the user experience designer, when she very first, started working on this application, it was like a 52-page document with like 20 different modal windows, and it was just ridiculous. So when I rethought it, so the whole purpose of this particular application is for them to see. Well, this is for Sprint Zone. So Sprint Zone has categories, and inside of each category it has features. And so like ESPN basketball, for instance, it could be inside of that category. It could talk about KU basketball. It could talk about Duke. Whatever. And so you would be able to kind of dive in and start with the name of the category, and then once you've created that, then you would see the details in that. And we have notifications in this particular screen, and all of that you're able to do from this one particular screen. This is just a wireframe, and this is not how it eventually looked, although it actually ended up looking very similar. And I talked about the fact that I really like, in some apps, as far as, I like doing kind of a step-by-step, you start here, and then here's your next step, and then here's your next step, and then you're done, kind of thing. So I wanted to do this instead of PHP as a Flex app. For one, because I could do both, have it be a Swift for the browser, and we could make an Air application. And when I designed this, not only am I thinking step by step, but I also am thinking of how this can actually work for mobile. So each of the panels then are the only thing that you see on the mobile app, instead of seeing the whole entire thing at one time. And this is kind of the next iteration of it. We kind of start taking my kind of wireframes and kind of deciding how it's end up going to look. So the home screen has these tiles on it, and they can either be one across the whole thing or two across. And so kind of thinking of how I can, because the tile itself has elements, form elements to it, and then the features, have form elements to it as well. And as I'm thinking about how that is going, to work for the features, I also came up with a, little template. So there was only 4 different ways that the user, as they're inputting this, can decide how it's going to look. So is it going to be a small icon? It's going to be a large icon in text? Is it going to be text only with maybe a star system involved with it? Or there's a different, an older version of this that has just a super small icon. And so for instance, I kind of felt like if the user was only going, like MTV or whoever was only going to have maybe 3 tiles to begin with, 3 different categories, instead of up to however 10 is what they can have, then maybe they would like it better kind of in the old view. So up above each of my sections here, I have 2 different views. So I can either see it in the tile view or a list view. And I have different options that show up for each individual view. But it allowed me to take those, let's say out of those 24 pages, 10 or 15 were involved with just this particular process. Flash Builder allowed me to think of it in a different way than I was really able to think of it in kind of just regular HTML, PHP land. So vector or raster. Now, I, as a designer, love vectors. I would live in vector land if it were up to me. But for mobile, it's a totally different thing, right? So Vector is okay for very simple shapes, but everything else has to be rasterized because you have to think about the render times. And just like the old days of the web, I also have to be concerned with optimization, which is another reason why I use Fireworks, because it makes the smallest file size for me. So here's just an example of all the different things that create wireframes. On my iPad, I love Sketchypad and iMockups, so I can sit in any meeting, any boring meeting, and I can actually get some work done with creating some wireframes. Now, I also want to talk about for a minute Device Central. So if I've designed something in Fireworks, for example, or Photoshop, or Flash, or Captivate, I can use Device Central to be able to take a look, to emulate that and kind of take a look how things are going to be. So I've got my preferences, and I can set up screen sizes and pixels per inch in there. And Adobe does a decent job of creating new ones all the time, or I can create my own device configuration. So here's an example of the screen that has a project. So you can see over on the left-hand side, I've got my Air apps, I've got my my Flash player, and which one I'm going to target. And so I can see the size, of something. I have my different categories that I can take a look at the information for it, and I can emulate from there as well. So here you can see After Effects, Captivate, Fireworks, Flash, Illustrator, and Photoshop I can use. So I can, let's say, for example, I prefer Fireworks over anything else. Straight from Fireworks File menu, I can go and preview that in Device Central. Sorry, I almost forgot what the heck app I was talking about. Now, if I want to actually have it, click through my different screens, then I have to export that out of Fireworks as a HTML file so that I can bring that in. Just an example of a look and feel of the emulation, and I can choose different. I can choose a different, phone or item at any point. I can, stretch my screen. I can see what it looks like. The display is backlit, full screen, etc. Now, the reason why I like Fireworks is that I have pages and master pages. So if I'm going to have an element that's on every single page, I will use a master page item for that. And then my different pages for my different views, my different screens in my application. So I can change the canvas size for every single page. Fireworks is a vector graphics, but I can export it as Fireworks. Export it as numerous things, PNG, whatever. And the coolest thing for those of you who are using Flash and using Fireworks, now I can export and bring it in, but I can also just drag and drop, which is really honestly the best way to use Fireworks. I have symbols. It's really very much, because it was Macromedia, just like Flash was, they really work hand in hand. I've got my 9-slice, and there's a nice Alice instead of slice. Scaling guides. It's easy to make symbols. I can just, again, drag and drop from this into Flash. It's amazing. Now, for the choices that you have, and you'll notice at the bottom I've kind of grayed out a Flash Catalyst. You've got Flash Pro, and here's a great example of when you might use certain things. Fireworks over Photoshop over Illustrator. Now, the question was asked before, when might I use HTML5, right? Well, Illustrator then I would end up using, because
I can export with the HTML5 pack. I can export CSS3 and my SVG, and it also has a great Flash integration. So just like my development tools, I'm kind of the same way with my design tools as to what part I'm going to if it's Fireworks for the majority of things, but if it's going to be HTML5, I'm probably going to use Illustrator over Fireworks because it just works better. Flash Pro, believe it or not, actually parts of Flash Pro work better for some things than Flash Builder does, and Flash Builder, of course, works better for some things than Flash Pro does. So when you start designing mobile applications, you'll probably end up finding yourself kind of going back and forth between Flash Pro and Flash Builder. It just, it just works. Now, most of you guys probably don't make time-based animations anymore. But if I make a time-based animation, I can export with Wallaby's help from Flash Pro to HTML5. Now, I just wanted to give you some examples from Sprint with Sprint ID. And I really like this example because in my design here, you'll see that we've considered all of my screens. And so what Sprint ID is, it's for Android only. And you take a phone that is a Sprint ID enabled, and you basically get rid of all the clutter so that you're able to have these packs. So like Oprah could have a pack, Miley Cyrus could have her own pack, Justin Bieber could have his own pack, ESPN, whatever, colleges, etc. So when we design for this, we design for all of the screens really at the same time, and what widgets and what elements, applications, might be on the screen, on each screen. So like the logo and the background is a big deal. So what part of it is going to be seen if I swipe to the right or if I swipe to the left, and all of that makes a big difference when I'm designing. Here's another example of a fake college that we created so that we could just do a demo for business when we were coming up with this idea, and just kind of what might be on the different pages when we were creating this application. So from the first, this little fake college logo is showing, and then when you swipe left or right, there's really, there's enough widgets and things that's really kind of taking up the background, but there's no other background. It's just that one image. So I want to thank everybody, and all of the information will be on my website probably next week, because I'm out of town at the moment. I'm at a spa retreat in Arizona. My birthday was last week. So thank you very much.